It's very difficult to say. It's very difficult because there's an epicenter in Italy, in Lombardy, and the rest of the country has figures that are not so different from figures we are having in France or in other European countries. There's an epicenter in Lombardy, so it is important to understand what happened there. Until now, there's no other explanations, but it is clear that the situation there was really more complicated than in the rest of the country. And you mentioned tragedy, and yes, it is a tragedy, I think.
Do you think it has anything, Mr. Letta, to do with the healthcare system in Italy, with the age, with the population in Italy? We're just trying to glean, that as a test case and figure out, how to learn from what's happening there as it relates to this crisis that we're dealing with here in the United States?
I think the only reason we can raise on this point is the fact that Italy is a country where we live open doors. Italy is a country, is a melting pot country, is a country where there's a lot of travels, a lot of exchanges, companies, travelers, people working outside, coming, and I think it is maybe one of the reasons. It's not a remote place, it's a very central place, and the north of Italy is more central than the rest of the country, so maybe is one of the reasons. But it's very difficult to say because what is happening today in Spain is exactly at the same level of what we had in Italy in the last days. So at the same time, in Germany is different. So it is not easy to have trends, to say trends. But of course, we can take lessons from what happened until now.
Mr. Letta, what are the lessons to take away from the tragedy in Italy? What would you advise policymakers here in the US if they're listening?
I think the most important lesson number one is please do not underestimate what is happening. Please do not underestimate, because tomorrow it will be more difficult if you underestimate now. And I think this is the most important point. Of course, there are many lessons and many tools. First of all, self-distancing. Second, it is very important to isolate the oldest part of the population. You have to stop schools, universities. This is what we did in the rest of Europe too. So I think, but at the end of the day, the most important point is do not underestimate, because at the end of the day, of course, it is my guess, it is impossible to say that this virus will end up in 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks. When I heard President Trump saying that Easter and then business as usual, I would like to be in this word, but I fear it is not the real word. My guess is that we have to live with this tragedy or with this big problem for the next months, maybe the entire year, because before finding the vaccine, it is very difficult to think that we can defeat completely the virus.
Mr. Letta, thank you so much for joining us and our very best wishes to your country.